are these people?
We do have a guest, Assange activist, because those aren't showcased at all, apparently. So figured we'd do that. We're gonna bring on Halo Benson, and we're gonna talk about some Assange stuff. So I say we bring her in, and let's do that. Hi, Halo. How are you?
Hey, hey guys, I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Good.
fine. We're coming up on day X, as you know, which is Tuesday, Wednesday coming up, right? Um,
Yep, the 20th and 21st.
for those who don't know, this is the indictment trial, right? Pretty much.
This is
So
the last ditch effort right now in the UK courts.
yep, which, you know, luckily we get some journalists who are able to actually look at this who aren't, you know, kept from doing so. But I want to showcase this piece by Joe Lauria, super quick, right? A radically different world since Assange's indictment. The Assange case is a centerpiece of an emerging global challenge to U.S. dominance that did not exist in 2010 when the U.S. began its legal pursuit of the publisher, says Joe Lauria. Special to Consortium News. They kind of kill Julian Assange stuff, so super happy to have them around. Joe writes, the world has changed dramatically since the United States began its legal pursuit of WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange, bringing new risks to the U.S. if it persists in pursuing him to the end. The geostrategic situation and the state of the media are today nearly unrecognizable from 2010, when the U.S. impaneled a grand jury to indict Assange. Conditions have changed significantly since even 2019, when he was dragged from the embassy and the indictment was unveiled. The United States is in the midst of suffering its third major strategic defeat since the process against Assange began, bringing potentially significant consequences for the U.S., the world, and possibly Assange. In the past 3 years, the United States has experienced humiliating defeats in Afghanistan, Ukraine, and now Gaza. Afghanistan hurt American sensitivities about their precious prestige, which American elites care so much about. The rest of the world takes it into geostrategic calculations. The U.S. investigation of war in Ukraine, intended to weaken Russia and bring down its government, has instead turned into a debacle for the United States and Europe of world historical proportions. A new commercial, financial, and diplomatic system has emerged in opposition to the U.S.-dominated West. This has been slowly developing, but was accelerated by Washington's provocation in Ukraine. It is a way more serious problem for the U.S. than the mere loss of prestige. Add to this the worldwide disapproval and condemnation the U.S. is facing for its blatant complicity in Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza during a war. The U.S. and Israel are not winning. The result is U.S. legitimacy has significantly weakened around the world and at home. Is this the moment to bring a journalist to the United States in chains to stand trial for publishing truthful material that exposed earlier crimes by the United States? The risk of doing so at this moment, a very different moment from 2010, are serious for the U.S. at home and abroad. Domestically, the Bill of Rights is at risk. Internationally, the bully is losing credibility. This is seen in the forthrightfulness of some world leaders, particularly in Latin America, who in the spirit of the new non-U.S. world have confronted the United States on its treatment of Assange and have demanded his release. The establishment media, which by definition runs cover for the U.S. to commit crimes and abuses wherever its interests are challenged. It's suffering its own precipitous loss of legitimacy. The spectacular growth of both social and independent media's influence since 2010 has helped create a worldwide movement in defense of Assange and the basic principle of a free press. So, before we let Joe Lauria finish this up, thoughts so far? Collin, Halo, anything you got? I know there's a lot to add to this, so you know.
I genuinely feel since 2019, our government has kind of been feeding a revolution. You know, I mean, like we have lost all legitimacy, all credibility, and they keep doubling down on it.
Yeah.
You know, at first I thought it was just Trump. He likes to double down on stupid, but it seems that the Biden administration is kind of following the same course, and
Yep.
we're have become a laughing stock, and that's a good thing.
Yep. Collin?
Um,
I mean, we've talked about this on the show before, but I'm worried. And I think especially given what's happening in Gaza right now, not to say that's not important, it is, but I feel like given our news cycle that has been saturated
Yeah.
with news from Israel, that this this has been ongoing for the last few years, as long as I've been, in this space and kind of been involved in independent media. I've known about Assange, and it's just sad that not more people are talking about this, especially right now, given the extremity of the potential of what this could lead to by, you know, possibly as soon as next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about it enough, I think, in independent media right now. And so we're definitely not, we know in mainstream it's not going to talk about this at all. But, you know, so the idea of like you, Halo, kind of leading, and other activists who've kind of been leading this charge all along, I do commend you, to doing this work, even when it's thankless and you guys don't get any recognition. And I think as something as huge as free speech, which we claim to uphold in this country, you think that more people would take this situation and really bear it close. And we really haven't. But I think in spite of that, you and others have led the charge in this anyway. So I really appreciate you um, moving forward in spite of how little coverage I would argue this story has been getting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, and I
I
think
remember,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, well,
Please.
when I first came on Twitter, like before coming on Twitter, I didn't know anyone was doing anything about Assange. Like my family, we started in 2015. And I didn't uh no one even knew who he was. No one knew what WikiLeaks was. And then I got on Twitter and found my people, and it was like, oh, there's all these people that care about what's happening with Julian and care about the threat to our First Amendment. And so I mean, for me, I guess from being at it so long, to me, it seems like the whole world is paying attention, not the media as much as they should, or unfortunately, they do a nod here or there just because they mentioned it once, and then they leave it alone. But this has just been continuing for so long that I think that we would be better off with constant coverage. Do you know what I mean? All Assange, all the time. That's what needs to happen. Um, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think depending on what we're talking about, Julian has uncovered, the crimes of the U.S. in that area, so they definitely don't want it publicized too much. But Joe Lauria is going to finish this up because I don't think I should do all the talking. I think someone else should probably take over once in a while, right? So we'll let him finish this up.
Thank you for inviting me to speak.
This did not start at the right time. What was it? I think it's in here.
U.S. hubris and intransigence, which seem to be are serious for the U.S. at home and abroad. Domestically, the Bill of Rights is at stake. Internationally, the bully is losing its credibility. This is seen in the forthrightness of some world leaders, particularly in Latin America, who, in the spirit of this new non-U.S. world, have confronted the United States on its treatment of Assange and have demanded his release. The established media, which by definition runs cover for the U.S. to commit crimes and abuses wherever its interests are challenged, is suffering its own precipitous loss of legitimacy. The spectacular growth of both social and independent media's influence since 2010 has helped create a worldwide movement in defense of Assange and the basic principles of a free press. The question is, how aware is the Biden administration of this new world, and how will it react? At a certain point, U.S. hubris and intransigence would seem to be headed for collapse. But until then, Washington will no doubt double down in denial and in vengeance. It's not giving up in Ukraine nor in Gaza. The neocon grip on power in Washington over the realists remains. Will the extremists remain ascendant on Assange too? In December 2010, Vice President Joe Biden told the television news show Meet the Press that the Obama administration could only indict Assange if they caught him red-handed stealing government secrets and not receiving them passively as a journalist. The Obama administration concluded he was acting as a journalist, even if they refused to call him one and didn't indict him. So what changed for Biden? Why does he persist in this prosecution begun by his mortal enemy Donald Trump and Trump's CIA director Mike Pompeo? The indictment until today still only deals with events in 2010. Nothing has changed legally, but everything has changed politically for President Biden, the head of the Democratic Party, with the 2016 DNC leaks and the CIA Vault 7 releases the following year. Biden would have hell to pay from the DNC and the CIA if he dropped the case. Still, he's probably not so foolish to want a shackled journalist showing up on U.S. shores to stand trial in the midst of his re-election campaign. The High Court here in London has been good at dragging things out and could easily do so until after November. The Assange case is thus a centerpiece of this global challenge to U.S. dominance that did not exist in 2010. To the extent that U.S. leaders are aware of what is happening to U.S. standing in the world, their propensity is to lash out with the only argument they have left: lethal force. In Assange's case, it is legal force with lethal consequences. Leniency towards Assange would win back some respect the United States has lost, which would mean it couldn't suffer another blow and had finally woken to the new world it inhabits. Crushing him would be yet another step towards its demise. The U.S. really doesn't need him. It has enough blood on its hands.
Thoughts? I mean, Joe Lauria kind of lays it out for people. So, anything?
Well, I think that one of the things that we're dealing with is the lawfare, like how he said, the legal, having to become familiar with the term lawfare, and their intent to drag this out. One of the problems we've run into is we don't know what's next. Like, they've taken things so far beyond what is legal and acceptable. I mean, the UK is trashing their Magna Carta right now. It's not just us, our country trashing our Constitution. But it's hard to know what comes next. Like, if they decide, oh, give him this last appeal, and then they say, oh, no extradition, how do we know that they're not setting up an indictment for Vault 7 leaks or something else? Like, I always think back to them saying, the punishment by process, keeping him wrapped up in courts for 25 years. And then I keep thinking, will the Biden administration do anything? Will they drop the charges? Like, right now, there's this resolution in the House Resolution 934, to basically protect journalistic activities. And as much as I love this, I love that we finally have some sort of legislation actually happening, or not that that it has been presented in our Congress. But basically we're having to beg our representatives to uphold the Constitution. Like, that's basically what it is. We already have a First Amendment that does protect journalistic activities. We shouldn't have to be doing oh, hey, how about we sign this? How about we try to get them to drop the charges against Julian? This shouldn't even be something that's happening, but we are at that stage where they've lost all credibility, and now everything is brute force. I mean, they're doing nothing. If you look at with George Floyd, the whole world protested, the whole world. And what did that get us here? I mean, I've never really seen such big protests in the United States in my lifetime, and it got the police a bigger budget. Like, I think that we need a different approach. We need something different, something tangible. I used to be a door knocker with petitions and whatnot. And, you could see change. 20 years ago, you could work on something for, 6 months, 7 months. you could get a little bit of change. Now they don't care. Like it's like a slap in the face. Like no matter what we like, they with a straight face go on camera and talk about press freedom with a straight face.
Yeah.
Like it's I feel like I'm being punked or something. And maybe this is
especially
what
recently
death
with
throes of an empire look like. I
with
don't
the
know.
Navalny stuff, you know, I'm sure that all feels like a slap in the face right now when they're literally about to extradite Assange. So you have every journalist screaming about journalistic integrity right now, you know, not knowing half the story about this. So, but we do have some hopefuls out there still putting in the work, like Freedom of the Press put this together. I think this went out with the stream Ray McGovern and them did recently, I do believe. So we'll give this a watch.
For decades, news outlets have depended on the right to publish government secrets.
Nope, come on. You can do it.
But all that could change if President Biden's Justice Department finishes what Trump started, prosecuting WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange under the Espionage Act.
Everybody back there in the fake news media, look at all of them.
Donald Trump repeatedly calls journalists
Enemy of the people.
and he's already promising a crackdown on the press.
Yeah, they say it's okay, you're going to jail.
The only thing stopping him is the First Amendment.
The nation's Bill of Rights.
It protects the rights of journalists to publish the truth,
We're going to go with the story, because the terror is right here in this room.
whether the government likes it or not.
Today, the Trump administration announced new criminal charges for Julian Assange under
Wait
the
till you see who's in
1917
this.
Espionage Act, a terrible piece of legislation and rife for governmental abuse.
The government is now trying to criminally prosecute people for publishing secret stuff, and newspapers and magazines publish secret stuff all the time. That is the bread and butter of what we do.
The Espionage Act charges against Julian Assange have nothing to do with hacking, spying, or even espionage. They also have nothing to do with the DNC emails or Russia.
I know you. Given everything else that we know about the WikiLeaks guy, I can feel through the television right now your mixed feelings about what I am saying.
Everything that Assange is charged with under the Espionage
Based
Act
off her
happened
propaganda.
in 2010. Assange is accused of speaking with a source, convincing her to give him documents, receiving those documents, and then publishing some of those documents.
Run that, baby.
In other words, acts that journalists engage in every day.
So much has been written about this in recent days as a result of the substantial leak.
The Obama administration didn't like Assange, but they chose not to prosecute him.
2004 to 2009.
They knew it would create a dangerous legal precedent. But when Trump got into office, he indicted Assange. Trump doesn't care about destroying press freedom.
Keep your voice down.
What a stupid question. You are a rude, terrible person.
For him, that's a feature, not a bug.
But it should concern Biden if he really thinks
Journalism is not a crime.
And it should concern anyone who wants the press to freely report on Trump's abuses
I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
By God, I'm going to fight that son of a bitch's paper.
The Assange prosecution would hand Trump the perfect weapon to go after the New York Times and Washington Post.
Police in this small Kansas town raided.
Prosecutors would also be emboldened to crack down on local journalists across the country. You don't have to like Julian Assange. This is not about him. It's about the future of the Fourth Estate and American democracy.
whether this case goes forward will be a part of Biden's legacy. The future of journalism is in his hands.
It's time for anybody who cares about press freedom to put their personal feelings about Julian Assange aside. Tell the Biden administration to drop this dangerous prosecution immediately.
Do the thing. Go to the website. Very easy. Type it in. Do the stuff. Funny Rachel Maddow being in there. I found that funny. You know. So, I mean, I feel like Assange should have just given people more provocative names like Deep Throat. I think he would have worked out better. You know, but what do I know?
I think it's ridiculous that people are talking about your personal feelings about Julian Assange.
Right?
What is that?
Yeah.
What is that? How do you have
Well, that's-
personal feelings? This has nothing to do with that. It's just absurd. Do you mean your personal feelings of jealousy? Because you're
Yeah.
seeing what journalistic integrity looks like?
He's
So
not
full of
even,
shit.
he's a publisher. He published documents. I wouldn't even want to give him the journalist title, even though I think he's earned it. You know, he published stuff. that was given to him, and it wasn't even necessarily him. Like they published stuff out from under him that he then had to like publish on top of that with redacted names and all that crap. That was pretty much, what was that, WAPO? Or no, it was the Guardian, one of those. Oh, someone will remind me in chat. So, but we got one of our favorites, Comrade Misty. She spoke to Julian's brother Gabriel recently and told me that he still doesn't know if Assange will be permitted to attend the hearings in person yet. He's applied for permission. Stella confirmed today that they still haven't heard back. How absolutely fucked is it that he has to apply to permission to attend his own hearings in the fight for his actual life? And I'm willing to bet it is denied and he will have to attend via video link again. How the hell does that work? You're not even allowed to attend your own trial. Like,
well, and when he did, they had him behind glass or, in a box, like,
right.
Like he's some sort of actual criminal or something.
And they don't even give him the like Hannibal Lecter cool mask either, like at least like tie him to the stretcher.
I think it would be a Guy Fawkes mask.
Right.
Like let him at least, yeah.
It's just, what do they think would happen? It's like they won't let him be in front of a camera. They won't let him have what do you think he's going to do in the 5 seconds that he's in front of something at it's just wild. So,
I have a theory about something, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, so so at one point Julian made a statement that when all is revealed, Washington would fall, right? And I think that these people, always suppose that people are just like them, right? So you've got these shady, corrupt people. And I think a lot of them are afraid that Julian has all these vast troves of unpublished things that he's sitting on, and they want to silence him. Like, they don't seem to get it, because they don't have the same moral principles, the integrity that Julian has. He's not sitting on anything. He's told us everything that has been given to. Do you know what I mean? I think they're terrified of, oh my gosh, what else does he know? What else does he know? Not understanding, because they can't appreciate that somebody is a genuine, honorable person. So I think so much of it is this fear thing,
Well, and even if it's just
he might say,
talking about the treatment that he's getting now, who knows what is actually happening behind the walls of Belmarsh. So, craziness. But Mint Press reporting Australian MPs, including Anthony Albanese and cabinet members, have overwhelmingly voted in favor of urging the government in the US and the UK to permit Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, to return to his home country, which feels like a strongly worded letter to me, but, nice of them to show up at the last minute. So another bit of good news. Russian artist Andrei Malantkin plans to fill a safe with artworks that he values around $40 million, including pieces by Picasso, Rembrandt, and Andy Warhol, and to destroy them should Julian Assange die in prison. I feel like that's a rock star move to do. That seems like a Banksy move and a half, to destroy artwork. So, but yeah, and I think he was also given citizenship in Rome recently, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
honorable citizenship in Rome.
I don't know what that does for him, but
I think it's more of a show of the solidarity. I work with a group called Free Assange Wave, and it's kind of just this loose network of different heads of groups from all over, or just like lone wolf kind of activists. And it's kind of just, I don't know, it's like a network that we have. And they had asked me, what about doing that for Tulsa? Do they do that? And we do honorary citizenship in the United States, but not in specific cities. So one of the things that we're trying to work on now here in the US, and by we, I think it's just me right now, but I'm talking to people, of maybe getting him honorary degrees. If they can give an honorary degree to some actor, surely we can, petition anybody that's alumni somewhere.
Right.
I'm trying to work that angle, but I think a lot of it, it's like, well, what's the point of it? Just to show support, just to get his name in the news. Like the reality is that every person I've talked to, and we're talking, it's been like 9 years for me now. When you tell them what's going on, and you don't even have to get in depth with all of the stuff. If you tell them, this information that about the Afghan war logs or whatever, the guy that did it, they've got him in prison. People immediately, they can't do that. We have a First Amendment. That's the first thing people say is they can't do that.
Right.
So it's a matter of making sure that enough people know what they're doing. And once that happens, then that's it. It's going to be over. And I genuinely don't think it'll be something that happens by getting in the streets, even though I love being out in the streets. But I think it's like actual tangible actions. Make the phone calls, write the letters, just write the letters, talk to everybody, talk to your coworkers, talk to, we need tangible actions, because the people that are in power, we're not going to sway them, but it's the little guys that are up for reelection every 2 years, or, you know what I mean? The people that aren't incumbents, that haven't been there for a long, they are swayable. We're seeing a little bit of, huffing and puffing here in Oklahoma. We've become kind of hard to ignore. And I think that we have a really good chance of getting a couple of our representatives to sign this resolution 934. And I genuinely think that we just have to reach, that momentum thing where we start kind of gaining ground. But like there are, anything that you can do to, this is where I'm going to do the spiel of what can you do? This is what you can do. Look and for supporters at home, because not everybody's an activist, but there's millions of supporters out there. And so if you're a supporter, Google the community radio stations in your town. And when they're having, every place has somebody that likes to talk politics, whatever party or, whatever ideology, but there's always somebody talking, local community talk radio. Call in, send them an email, say, hey, can I come on and talk about this? And they're happy to have you on. I mean, it's hard to come up with guests every day. So, people can do little things like that. Or one of the other things that I'm trying to do right now is getting, Kevin Gostola, Stefania Marizzi, and Nils Meltzer's books into our public libraries. I think it's really, really important. When we're online, we sometimes forget that there are tons of people that just aren't at all. And if you go to the library, if you live someplace where your library is carrying any of those books or any of Julian Assange's books, good for you, but there ain't any here. And so what we're trying to do is I'm encouraging people, go get a library card and then start requesting these books. You can do it online. You can also, the library has a free streaming service called Canopy with a K, and ask to have Ithaca streaming on there, ask to have Juan Passarelli's documentary, The War on Journalism, screening on there, or, like all these little things. And maybe, one person asks, they don't do anything. Two-person asks, they don't do anything. But when 10 or 15 or 20 library holder, you know what I mean? And it also goes a long way to keeping our public libraries still receiving funding, because that's something that they try to take all the time. But there are a lot of little things that we can do. And when people ask me, what can I do? Like every single thing you can think of, and as often as possible.
Well, I think thinking outside the box is super useful, which great segue into what we brought you on to talk about.
Thinking inside the box.
Thinking inside the box, yes. So you do these boxes and you send them to people, and please tell us what's in the box, how to get them, what you should do when you get them, all that fun stuff. So
okay. So every box has been different. This current box is completely surrounding House Resolution 934. And so what is in there is, excuse me, letters to, there's 32 letters in every box. There's a letter to the Committee to Protect Journalists, to ask them to add him to their list of imprisoned journalists, because that's bullshit that they haven't. And then there's a letter to your representative asking them to sign House Resolution 934. And then there's a letter to every person that has signed the resolution saying, hey, you know, I'm Halo from Oklahoma. Can you please speak with my representative, Frank Lucas, about this? You know, and then there are letters to the U.S. Judiciary Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of Federal Government, asking them to open an investigation into how they've weaponized our government against Julian. And I definitely think we can gain some ground there because Thomas Massey is on that subcommittee, and he's kind of always been supporting Julian. So there's that. And then there's also postcards to every other representative in your state, asking them to sign. And then there's also a list of, I want the boxes to be able to work in tandem with Twitter, with online. So there's a list of all of these people's Twitter handles so that when you put that letter in the box, you can tag them online. Hey, Frank Lucas, I sent you a letter asking you to sign this. And if we can do that and be coordinated, I just genuinely think that's be consistent about the application of pressure. I mean, when I call my representatives, they literally answer the phone like, Frank Lucas's office, how can they know it's me? Do you know what I mean? Like I've been through more interns than, you know what I mean? But it does work. Like they get familiar with it. And if there's enough public pressure and these boxes, and how you get them is just ask me. And as soon as the money comes in, I'll send them. I don't charge anybody for the boxes. I don't think that you should have to pay money to have your voice be heard.
Right.
And literally everything is customized to a T. Like when you get your box, Reef, hopefully soon, you'll see it's to your, very specifically to your location. And literally all you have to do is take a letter out of the envelope, sign it, put it back in, seal the envelope. That's it. They're stamped, they're addressed. Like it could not be easier for the people doing the box.
Well, I know it does cost money.
It's worth it.
So we put your donation link in the description below. People want to assist you in that effort. And you're on Twitter at Halo Benson, right? Right underneath you. People should be able to find that. Should be in the description.
And Tulsa
as well.
for Assange.
Tulsa for Assange. Got it. So yeah, anything else to add, Care Bear, before we say bye to our guest? I think
again, just thank you for your work. Thank you for your activism, and we'll be thinking of you next week. And hopefully your work will screen dividends, we hope.
Thank you for saying that.
So
yeah.
And thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. Anytime. We love having the Assange peeps on. They know what's up. So I think that's it. So we're going to be right back for our audience at home, and we're going to say bye to our guest, and then you get to listen to us talk about our other 3 stories for the rest of the night, because we all know you love to hear our voices anyway. So, but anyway, be right back, everyone. Say bye, fam.